to the Tuesday, December 18th, 2018 meeting of the City of Ann Arbor Parks Advisory Commission. It's just after 4, and we're here in council chambers. Colin, would you please call the roll?
Turn on the microphone. Commissioner Gallardi, Commissioner Santa Croce.
Here.
Commissioner Morrison.
Here.
Commissioner Borgsdorf. Commissioner Ramaswamy.
Here.
Commissioner London. Commissioner Apple. Commissioner Kraut.
Here.
Commissioner Skyless. And Councilmember Grand and Hayner are both here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item C, approval of the agenda. You have the agenda before you. Any additions, changes? I actually have one, but I can wait. So we have I'd like to add the discussion of a resolution passed by council on Monday night.
It's actually passed on to you.
Oh, passed on to us by council on Monday night that we'll talk about in the new business. Is there anything else? Hearing none, moving on. Item D, approval of the minutes of the October 16, 2018 PAC meeting. That was our last meeting. The minutes are attached to your materials and were available via email and on Legislar. Changes, additions, or if not, a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Awesome. Further discussion? We'll give it a sec. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It passes. Thank you. Item E, public commentary, 3 minutes per speaker. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak?
My name's Tim Burla. I'm here on behalf of Pickleball.
Welcome.
I used to be on this committee many years ago. Julie was on when I wasn't. Bob was too. But so I just last time I was here was about 1.5 or 2 years ago, and PAC supported conversion of some of the tennis courts at Leslie Park to pickleball, and it's been fantastic. From my perspective, it's been fantastically successful. We had just so much fun. The courts didn't really get finished until this spring, but we were out there every week, and it's just a great place to play. I was there with my friends who play with each other regularly, but there were also just people popping up who I didn't know, families. There was a group from Google that came for a while, and it was just, it was really fun. Very occasionally, there might have been people who were turned away because all 6 courts were there are now 6 pickleball and 1 tennis, but generally everybody got a court, everybody had a lot of fun, and it was just a huge success to me. So I just wanted to say thank you, and thanks to Hillary, who did a really good job. One of the things that happened was when the contractors put the lines down, some of the lines were put in incorrectly. They were 6 feet from the net instead of 7. But the amazing thing was somebody called Hillary on a Monday, and by Friday they were all fixed. And I was like, that is a miracle for the city to get the contractor out there and get it fixed in less than a week. So bravo. So these are pickleball paddles. This is a pickleball. If you ever have any questions about pickleball, Colin knows how to reach me, and I'd be happy to help you with that. So what I wanted to ask you for consideration of in the future are a couple things. First, the next time, it would be great to have more courts. Obviously, you give us something and we want more, but especially on a different side of town. Leslie Park, great facility, very convenient for me. Some of my friends who live, south of I-94, it's kind of especially after, at 5 or 6 o'clock, it's hard to get up there. And just having more courts that are visible so more people would learn that it's a possibility and have a chance to participate in the sport and learn all about it and have all the fun that we're having. So the next time some other tennis courts come up that need to be redone, which I know you guys have a whole cycle. I looked and I tried to figure out which ones was next, but I couldn't. But that are, especially if they're on a different side of town and maybe courts that aren't used so much, be awesome to do a similar project at another place in town, so there just would be more pickleball. The other idea that I had, which I'll just toss out there and you guys can think it over, was, so there's 3 ways to turn tennis courts into pickleball courts. There's the way that is done at South Maple Park, where you line the courts in the middle of the tennis court and you use the tennis net as the pickleball net. That's sort of the least desirable, but it's good and it works. The second way is the permanent conversion like is at Leslie Park. The third way is to put the lines down put pickleball courts on either sides of the net, so similar to how they're laid out at Leslie, and leave the tennis nets up to function as fences for the pickleball courts and as nets for the tennis. And then pickleball players such as myself can bring out temporary nets and set up, and so that way you have a facility that can be used for either. And it's a little bit of a burden to bring the net, but the net only costs about $150. And if you were to do this, I will also try and convince the public library to have nets to check out, because that's the kind of thing they do all the time. And so my thought was, wouldn't it be great if there were pickleball courts lined on Vets Park, so then occasionally when it was a hot day, we could go out and play pickleball at night. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Any other member of the public would like to speak? Welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Emmy Brawley. I work for the Conservation Fund. I'm an associate director from the Midwest. And I think many of you know the Conservation Fund has a contract with City of Ann Arbor to manage the Greenbelt program. And we have had a staff person here managing the Greenbelt for many years. Most recently, it was Ruth Thornton, who left in September. And I wanted to introduce you to Ruth's replacement, Remy Long, who's here with me today. He will be managing land acquisitions, and so you'll be seeing him through LAC and when there are new parks acquisitions for you to consider. We're really excited to have him. He's local, went to school here, and has a great experience, great knowledge about the landscape and the partners, so we're really fortunate to bring him on board.
Thank you. And welcome, Remy.
Thank you.
Any other member of the public? Hearing none, moving on. Item F1, Argo Gallup 2018 recap. Cheryl Sam, the Recreation Supervisor. Welcome again.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Hi, great. So I'll just run through the slide here. The City of Ann Arbor has 2 canoe liveries. The Gallup livery is our downstream livery. Argo is upstream. We're the largest livery operation in the state with 550 boats, 50 tubes, over 2,000 customers on a busy summer weekend day, and about 90,000 people a year are in our boats. The Gallup offers the 5.7 mile, our longer river trip. It takes about 2.5 hours, and also offers still water paddling in Gallup Pond. We have river camps, programs, coffee shop, concessions. The Gallup Park meeting room is rented year-round, and of course Gallup Park is a really popular park for many activities. The Argo Canoe Livery offers our shorter river trip. It takes about 1.5 hours to paddle from Argo down to Gallup. Some people take a lot longer than that. Still water paddlings of 2 mile Argo Pond. We also rent tubes for the Argo Cascades, and we have river camps, programs, and concessions at Argo. So the river trips were 56% of all of our rentals in 2018, fiscal year 18. So obviously, a little bit more popular. This actually went down from the year before, and it kind of depends on high water. When we're closed for the river trips, then more people are doing still water. So the Argo to Gallup, the shorter river trip, is the most popular by far. And then we've even eliminated the 4-hour Delhi to Argo. People want to do shorter trips, plus the Cascades are fun with the rapids, so people want that section of river. Still water paddling was 42% of our rentals. It's great for novice paddlers. It's super easy for us to do, for the customer. No van transportation, no loading trailers, just get in a boat, off you go. Has different boat choices such as little kid kayaks, paddle boats, stand-up paddle boards, rowboats, so offers even more than just canoes and kayaks. Tubing the Argo Cascades is only 2% of our boat rentals. We rent tubes that are just stay in the Cascades, so it's kind of like a sled run. You tube down, hike back up, do it as many times as you want. In your 2-hour rental, $10 per tube. We do not provide transportation for tubes. The river is too slow as it goes on down to Gallup, so it would be difficult to tube. That being said, there's a lot of people who do it. If you've noticed on the river, there's a really big increase in tubes on the river, personal tubes. So this is across the state as well. There'll be hundreds, if not 1,000 people out tubing on a busy weekend day. So you can just come down to the river. It's free and open to all. Grab your tube, jump in the water. Livery staff, we have at least 100 seasonal employees. Each year we have supervisors, van drivers, dock staff, program staff. Supervisors are really just running the show, opening, closing, working outdoors with the staff, really setting the culture and the community of our staff. Staff training is extensive. Everyone receives 8 hours of training in the classroom, goes through all the boats, and just we have to have staff that are really knowledgeable, and this helps with the risk management in that everybody that they're launching on the docks knows where to go, how to paddle, how to come back. So the river briefings are a really important part of the risk management and how the staff are trained, let alone friendly, helpful, kind, fun. So river festivals and programs, we have about 5,000 people a year. Here on River Day is our 39th in 2019. It is now in May. Detroit Edison Foundation has sponsored it for the past about 10 years at $9,000. So we've moved it to May, which is great. It kicks off the season, less crowded, busy, hot in Gallup Park. Lots and lots of other programs. We really just try to spread out the programs, make it so there's something for everyone. And then also we do river cleanups with the State of Michigan grant, and Give 365 is really helpful in almost all of these programs, just providing staff, volunteers. And then if we can keep the river clean, picked up, free of trash, hopefully people then continue that and the river stays clean. River day camps, just super fun. It's probably one of my favorite things, just to see these kids here. They week-long day camps, Monday through Friday, from 8:30 to 4:30. We have about 500 campers per summer. Gallup offers the 2nd through 5th grade, 30 kids a week. Argo is 6th through 9th grade, and we've expanded the age this year due to popular demand. And we have about 20 kids, and that's also been expanded for 2019. The camps are really popular, fill very, very quickly, big wait lists. We're going to propose a new fee for the camps. They are staff intensive and equipment intensive. They cost us a lot to run the camps, being a specialty camp. Groups are a big part of what we do. Every day, pretty much, we have a group that schedules. So the schools come in the spring and the fall. We offer pretty much half-off rates to try to get these kids out. They come from all around Ann Arbor, Jackson, Detroit area. Every 9th grader in Pioneer High paddled the Argo to Gallup trip. The open school comes, so many of the classrooms come. It's really fun. We'll have like 250 kids all at the same time that we get them off. And many of them will do the Argo to Gallup, but the younger kids maybe will do the younger age group. And then it's educational, and they can base their programming at the school on all the different things that they learn and how the river affects so much. We have youth groups, it's adventuresome, all the day camps that come throughout the summer that are not even our day camps. Businesses, it's team building, and local colleges. This is the U of M hockey team. So many departments come, sports teams and stuff, as team building exercise. Managing the liveries. So staff, it's about half of our budget. It's a lot of staff to manage, as you can imagine. So it's really just, our job is to the supervisors and my job is to make it the best experience for the staff and how they can then do the best job that they can to make it a wonderful experience for our customers. So we really work hard on that and supporting the staff, giving them the tools that they need, and making sure that they're having a good time, because then our customers will have a good time, and that it's a real community of staff, and we work hard. Equipment, as you can imagine, with 550 boats, 9 vans and trailers, we have a lot of equipment maintenance. So we're continually maintaining our equipment and improving it. And we replace the equipment each year. We're not growing the number of boats. We haven't for quite a few years, so we're kind of staying at 550 boats, but we have auctions every spring and fall to sell off about 50 boats and buy 50 boats. And nobody wants canoes anymore. It's all about kayaks, unfortunately. So it's because I like canoes. I think you said you canoe as well. So yeah, but part of it is only kayaks go through the Cascades. So that's a big draw for the kayaks. And they're easy to use, our sit-on-top kayaks. So we keep buying more kayaks and slowly getting rid of some of our canoes. we keep current with the trends. I'm always looking at what kind of boating and what kind of opportunities, how we can do things better, stand-up paddle boards, for example. Infrastructure needs to be continually improved. We're looking right now at the Argo site. As you can see here in the photo, Gallup was improved 5 years ago, both with this ADA dock and then safety features and ADA access to the river, the trails. Our van now makes a circle instead of going up the sidewalks. And so we would like to look at Argo at the same time and see if some ADA improvements could be made there. And the Watershed Council has approached us to help us with the funding for that, to pay for an ADA dock, for example. But that also would mean like a sidewalk that is actually ADA and parking lot and restrooms. So that could be a grant that we could go for with the Michigan Natural Resource Trust Fund grant in the spring. So crowds are a big part of our managing the liveries. So it starts with parking at both Argo and Gallup, but both parks are full. On busy weekends at Gallup, we put up sandwich board signs and encourage people to park at Huron High School athletic fields and walk in. At Argo, we have parking staff out there managing the parking. We fill up the parking near the livery, block people from coming down Longshore, and encourage everyone to go to the Kellogg Eye Center. We have signs out there hoping that people with their own tubes who don't even need to come to the Argo livery, they're not renting from us, will just park there. So we have a big sandwich board sign, if you've ever gone down Plymouth Road, says have your own tube, park here, and then they can just access the Cascades by crossing Plymouth Road. Queues, we have big lines, so Argo typically has 100 people in line. We'll just have it all kind of snake through as gracefully as possible with like 25 people filling out forms, and then they pay, and then they go to river briefing, and then go to the river, and just really keep that flowing. With the vans, we're nonstop, 9 vans and trailers. The Barton to Gallup trip ends at 2, so then all vans can transport the Argo to Gallup trip, and that's really helped knock out our line waiting for van transportation there. We have diverse crowds, old, young, men, people don't speak English, just a big crowd, but we also have the party crowd. So we've really addressed alcohol. We don't allow alcohol, of course, in our river parks, in any of our parks. We have signage everywhere. We only allow 12-inch coolers. We don't rent to people who look intoxicated. We have the police come around, both at Argo and Gallup, and just make a presence. They're there on the weekends, just wandering around, just talking. And so I really feel like our culture has improved and changed down there with that crowd as well, to keep it family friendly. But it is a public river and parks. So there's a lot of people out there and a lot of people using our parks. And the river also requires some management. High water, cold water are two really risky things out on the river. For example, we were closed Memorial Day weekend in 2018 just because of high water. It makes for really dangerous river conditions. And at some point we start opening it up, only allow rafts and kayaks and no little kids. And so we're really watching that water level. Luckily we can do still water paddling when we're closed as for the river trip. River obstructions, there's trees that come down the river. We're continually dealing with that. Safety services, we have fire and police. The fire department is at our staff trainings. We work closely with them. Supervisors work closely with them when we do have incidences and accidents out on the river, such as boats flipping and they can't get to shore, and the staff will know their role and what the fire department's role is as well. Boats, water, and people make for really interesting combinations and challenges. So there's different ways that we deal with it. And for example, one thing that we do is on Saturday, Sunday nights, one of the staff people jump in the river at Argo at 6 o'clock and sweep the river all the way down to Gallup, corralling boats and people and equipment all the way down to Gallup so everybody's back safely by dark. So river, the water quality, you've probably heard about the PFAS. I'm sure you're involved with that. With river recreation, it is stated that it is safe to swim and use the water recreational. It is not easily absorbed through the skin. So we're going forth with that. We're hoping to put up some more permanent signage. Colin and I have been working a little bit with that, of don't eat the fish, don't eat foam, and also just the rules and what that means. And so we're certainly looking at that and keeping an eye on that. With sewage spills has also closed us down numerous times. We just readjust. We're working closely with the city staff on that. And for example, if the sewage spill was at the Arb this year, for example, we closed down that section of river, but we're able to keep the Argo livery open and just paddle in that area of the pond. The river flow and climate change, we have extreme fluctuating water levels. Too high, too low, you know, it's just really been just some very extreme over the last few years. And it's been challenging to work with. A lot of times we can't run canoes, rafts. We have to switch to all double and single kayaks, sometimes only single kayaks. The river's super shallow, the river's super high and closes us down, so it's really dynamic every day. Get to the livery and decide what we're running that day. Impoundments need managing. We have aquatic plant harvesting at the Gallup livery. Otherwise, it would be really clogged up right in front of the Gallup livery area. The pedal boats wouldn't be able to be used. So we just have mow it in essence, but they also scoop up all of the aquatic plants so they don't fragment. And then also at the public boat launch, just to keep access to the river clean. We have a dam fee now for the recreational dams, which are Argo and Gallup, that we charge approximately $1 per person in every boat. So they are contributing towards the maintenance of the fee. And for this year, for example, it was $67,000. That goes towards the dam maintenance coming out of the livery. Access in riparian areas, there's a lot of people using the river with their tubes and our boats and such, so we're always looking at that erosion and really keeping those access points open, clean, and well marked. And sharing the river, we have rowers on the river, we have all those people with tubes and personal boats. The rowers are usually out there spring, fall, weekdays, so they don't conflict with us too much. Number of people in livery boats for fiscal year 2018. I started this pretty soon. I'm going to have to knock off when the Cascades started. First year open, 2012, and so you can see the growth at the Argo Cascades because we took out the portage, created rapids, super fun, really became popular. So it grew. A few years ago, we stopped buying more boats. We've plateaued off. I anticipate that this will be our revenue, give or take, nice weather. It's all about the weather and water level. Here, the numbers that you're seeing there of if it's a wonderful 3-day holiday weekend or not with weather. So that's the number of people, and then revenue and expenses goes along with that pretty accurately throughout. We also receive millage money to pay for equipment. I think this year is $26,000 or something like that to pay for new boats and such. So we do receive some millage money on top of this to help us. So river recreation in Ann Arbor, what makes it so popular, and I've done lectures around the state and with the Michigan Recreation Park Association, it's really a clean, beautiful river, right? That's the first thing. We have to have a clean, beautiful river, and we have beautiful parks with this amazing green corridor right through our city. Accessible to everyone, experience for all, lots of different boats, lots of different choices. We don't take reservations, just come on down to the river. Our programs make it so someone would try it without ever paddling before and feel comfortable being on the river. And you can come out with your 2-year-old and take a class. It's fun. It's TripAdvisor #1 outdoor activity in Ann Arbor, the Cascades, rapids on the river here in southeast Michigan. The Huron River Water Trail was created by the Watershed Council of just really bringing focus on the river and what recreation uses that it has. It makes an economic impact in our community. A lot of people come, paddle, and then ask us where to go out for dinner. And then it's Michigan. This is what Michigan should be doing, right? It's just opening up our rivers and having recreation available for everyone to just have a great time out on the water, building experience with their friends and family, and then hope they all become good stewards of rivers in the future. So that's it for me. Any questions?
From anyone? Please.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, Joe.
I had a question. I had a couple residents that I guess the river users, they keep mailing me in there. They have questions about the testing of the water quality, not so much the chemistry, but the E. coli is what they keep asking me about. Do we do a regular testing or that, or is it just when we get a notice of like a sewage spill, that kind of thing?
We do not do regular testing of it. It's a question that I can ask Jen Lawson, who's the water quality manager for the city. I can ask her to explain the reasons why.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they suggest to me, and I know that the county has an opportunity that the county will do that for us, but I wasn't sure it was the kind of thing we wanted to kind of do continuously because not because we don't want to know, but because I believe that there comes with certain regulations and stipulations from the county that if there's certain levels of things met, you close it down. And,
So
you
again,
know, that
part of
might
what
not
we
be so
do
great.
here is it's not a swimming beach.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, you're not allowed by park rules to swim. So the exposure to the water is your skin essentially, or if you happen to fall in, you're in and out very quickly. But the idea of having to test for the E. coli is really something that I would have to run through Jen Lawson, just to come back with you there.
Okay, thank you.
Just a question for you and maybe for Colin. What's like the season? When do you open up and when do you close
Yeah,
down?
we open mid-April and close at the end of October. We're open 7 days a week at Gallup throughout that entire time, weather dependent. Argo is weekends only in the spring and fall, and 7 days a week, Labor Day to Memorial Day to Labor Day. Hours in the spring and fall are a little shorter, 10 to 7, summer 9 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay. And then I'm just wondering, because I know there's a lot of people who, like you said, bring their own kayaks or tubes or whatever. Does the Parks Department ever do just like a count of people, not just livery, but at certain, whatever the best places would be? Just a count of the number of boats going by?
We have not, that I'm aware of.
To what end?
I don't know if it would be a good thing for grants, maybe. It's just a thought. It's
No,
not.
that's a
Yeah,
good point.
that's a good point.
I know for bicycling, that's something that's
Right.
used as like a marker, spring and fall or something.
I'd be curious too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
Go ahead.
So I, as a parent, I know very well the wait list for the river camps. And I certainly appreciate the opportunity and because their facility is heavy, to have an additional fee. Is there the possibility to expand the number of kids that you can accept into those camps? Because I know the wait lists are so low.
I know. So Argo, I've gone from 12 to 18, and this year, 2019 will be 20. So I'm able to expand that one is great. Gallup is we're pretty constrained by the size of that meeting room, and then also the logistics of getting everyone out on boats is really tough. Of just that. And I feel like there's just the equipment, logistics, room, space, and then the quality of the camp as well, I think would suffer if we tried to really pack them in and we have to deal with rainy days and such. So I'm hoping that the Argo camp will help in adding another age group, but it is a really long wait list and really hard to get into the camps. It's a tough one.
It's a great camp.
Shoot.
It is very much space related to, like in terms of what space we have to have available for kids in the camp if the weather is really bad on a day. As Cheryl said, we are quite limited at Gallup for that.
I have a question about, you had said that when the water is very low or very high, you close your offices for rentals. What is the protocol for people who bring in their own tubes, or do we as a city block it, or it's at your own risk? I don't.
Yeah. So we don't close down. We just close the river trip for too high of water, and you can still water paddle. Still water. You can keep on still water paddling at Argo and Gallup Pond, and not doing that river current. That's what's dangerous. The ponds themselves are like lakes and kind of stay the same. And so it's great that we still can offer something to get people out. We don't have any formal. We do try to warn people as they walk by Argo. And my staff actually have even asked me, just this fall, it's interesting, you asked, like, could we put up a sign saying, hey, our river trips are closed, water level is high. We do put it on the web. Due to dangerous water conditions, river trips are closed, and we keep the website updated by the minute, really, as soon as we open. So if anybody would look at the website, and then maybe we could post it at the liveries as well to try to caution people, because they don't know.
They don't
that,
know it.
Yeah, no, they really don't know.
Maybe
that
we could
high
get some
water.
surf flags.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Other-
On the lake beaches.
Other questions? All right,
wait,
thanks.
I just
Oh,
have one
I'm
more
sorry.
thing to say. I just want to note, since we're on TV, there is a PFAS town hall meeting tonight
Yes.
at Washtenaw Community College at 7 at Morris Lawrence.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
If I can just take 1 minute, I want just to compliment Cheryl and her staff. They work very, very hard. And if you go in the middle of the day on the weekend, you're quite likely to see Cheryl too. She's right in the middle of it. And her staff, all the time that she puts in for the training is well worth it, and you can see it. So, thank you, Cheryl.
So, thank you again. Moving on, item G, new business. So this is where we added it, and I'm going to try to give you 30 seconds of context and then open it up to discussion. I'm going to maybe ask for a little input from the bill's sponsor. But so as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a resolution on the council agenda that did not get voted on that essentially has the city calculating fees for use of, well, it's not a park, it's the library lot. The thing is that the piece of property that's been retained for public use as a commons to be known as the center of the city. So we're being consulted, I guess, to look at what to charge for this space. Councilmember Hayner, do you have more to add? Welcome, by the way.
Well, thank you. Yeah, you basically summed it up. So this was going to be brought forward in the new year, and the idea is that we've been letting people use that space, not just for parking those 38 cars, but we've had, DDA's had some pop-ups there. I think a couple other groups have used that space. And so the idea was, let's put a value on it like we do with the rest of our properties, like Bandemere, the Fire Circle, or any of these other things that are on the website. And, put a value on it and make it available for rental, because I know the Parks Rental opens on January 2nd, and the idea was that maybe somebody might want to pick that up, for art fair or one of these other big functions that we have, and make sort of a higher and best use of that other than the surface parking. So it wasn't supposed to be on there, it got added too late to the agenda accidentally. And so we kind of kicked it over here to PAC to get our input on it and see if that's something that Colin or PAC here would want to weigh in on. I don't know what the formula was for calculating the rental fees for other properties, and we recognize that this isn't been charged or kept by the city as a park, per se, as park property. The Chapter 39 Parks Rule says it's any space that the city owns or controls. And so right now, since we are still in control of that property, I thought, well, let's see if we can have the public make a higher use of it temporarily.
So I have a context question for Colin. Am I correct in my understanding that heretofore, any rental of or use of that space has been completely controlled by the DDA and not your offices?
I believe that's correct. I know that there have been events there the last number of years. The Alan Haber, the Peace in the Park event, that's not been through the Parks office. I believe it has been through the DDA in the past.
Yeah, I concur with that. That's what, I actually ran into Alan at the council last night, and he said that he went down there and kind of pleaded with DDA, and they said $35 for some kind of waiver. He had to show some proof of insurance or something, and so DDA's been handling that, but it's more of a park situation in my estimation. So that was the idea of bringing this forward, to kind of establish what is that use.
Right now,
So, good question, yeah.
my question is when it's being used through the DDA, then the parking lot is no longer available, right? So there's someone who has to shut down all those parking spots.
Colin?
The surface.
Yes, I would assume that's right. I don't
But
know the
not
details
underneath.
specifically of the
Yeah,
event.
but that's DDA
That would be
coordinated
that would be DDA
Public
loss
for
of
pub-
income too, right?
or with Republic Parking or whoever.
Whoever.
Right, so the city has a contract essentially with the DDA to manage that space, and the DDA affects that with Republic Parking.
I mean, I only raised that because whatever, it just seems, it's probably above our pay grade, as is the question of whether this is a park or not. But that seems a broader context. We don't, I guess what you're asking to do is, if it were ours to rent, is that the kind of?
Yeah, I guess that's why I came here. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out.
So just to help me understand, since it is parking mostly now, if this were a block, like a block of Washington Street that I wanted to have some event on it and I closed it down, then I'd ask to get the meters bagged, right? And there'd be some kind of related charge, I think? Is that?
Yes, again, that's correct. I mean, I don't know specifically because we don't obviously run the DDA events, but there is an established fee for the bagging of meters. I imagine there would be something similar to if there's going to be parking spots out of circulation for an event.
I mean, there wouldn't be an attendant charge if there is one for road closure, unlike that, but there is a loss of those.
I think this is kind of a interesting territory, because when we have right now a rental of a park, you're renting at Argo, say like Gallup Park, you're renting a shelter
Gazebo or
with a
something, yeah.
barbecue, and you rent it for a period of time, and there's not really a shutdown of facilities or parking or whatnot, you're just renting a space. That's the way that we're arranged right now, but this is a space that has parking, that has a lot of access routes, and I think a lot of coordinating beyond what we've done as maybe a parks. Right now, it's just rental, show up, bring your picnic basket, and you have your event, and you leave.
Right.
This is a shutdown of, and so my feeling is maybe more towards you, that this would be kind of like shutting down a street for art fair or for some kind of event, and that maybe is beyond the Parks Commission.
Yeah, I had figured that when part of that conversation was the potential lost revenue from that parking for that 24 hours or whatever the period was, because you got 38 spaces there.
38
Yeah,
times
so.
20 an hour, how much is it now?
I don't know, when they bag them, when I
$1.20.
bag street meters sometimes for parking a tool truck or a dumpster or something, and that's $20 per meter head.
A
for
day?
24 hours. So,
Right, so that's not too bad, so times
No.
38 would be
yeah, might be, you know.
386, 760.
But we're right now getting the revenue from those parking meters to the parks. It's not coming.
Well, so that's a jurisdictional thing. I mean, I think, I'm not so sure we can do anything without some clarification as to, I mean, we can say I mean, I'm sure this body could come up with a number, right? But I'm not.
I don't think we have enough information. I think it's still too fresh.
All right, so what effects it has is gonna depend on how it ever gets worked out with the DDA, but again, that may be above our pay grade. I think maybe the point is now are there questions for staff or the council members that could get resolved before we try to take action, before we resolve to take action on this in the next month, that would help us in figuring this out, other than the bigger contextual ones, which again, I don't think are our business ultimately.
I can speak a little bit about the rentals that we do. There's a reasonably wide range of them. There are a lot, as you described, where you're going to rent Island Park and the shelter, and so the space is reserved for your event at that time. We do have other areas where you rent essentially park space, which could just be an area of the park without really any amenities like a shelter on it, but you're going to use that for like a field game or something. All of these things have kind of a number of rates that vary from the day and the amount of time and the hours that you're going to use them for. The thing which is probably closest is we do occasionally rent the farmer's market for special events. Occasionally people get married there. We've had some other things like that. So that is a space that we rent in that particular instance, because that's also a parking lot outside of the days that it's the market. The applicant works with the DDA to cover that particular charge for them to take it out of circulation. Then they work with our office to rent the park space and set up the special event.
Gotcha.
I guess the thing for me is, like with the farmer's market, it's city-owned land that the city has clearly designated as sort of being under the jurisdiction of the park. I think that decision needs to be, that's sort of the decision that needs to be made, because, right, so, and then, because there's also the question of like, if you bag some meters on the street, what you're paying is going to the DDA, not to the Parks Department, so.
That's right. I mean, I think maybe one thing that might help for council, or for maybe you to think about a little more, there seems to be in here the implicit assumption that this is within the jurisdiction of parks, and if you tell us it is, but it's not maybe we struggle with that, because I think we'd be hesitant to say something, the DDA saying, right, not your job.
Would this, we had this conversation about when development gives slices off and we decide, do we really want that or not?
Right.
Right, and so, you know, this doesn't have that maintenance issue, which I don't think they're asking Parks to take over any kind of maintenance or responsibility or anything. I mean, I certainly wouldn't. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean,
Like, it
just the
really is-
programming, is it ours to
And Councilmember
program?
Grand, you pointed this out last night, that this really isn't a park property. It hasn't been designated as such yet. And so, yeah,
don't-
that's, somehow it ended up here, and so
Yeah,
I appreciate your
I don't think
input
that-
on it.
I don't think that gets in our way. I mean, there probably is some prohibition somewhere about a legislative body, to the extent we are one, doing things in the hypothetical, just like it is but I don't think we really have a problem with that. But are there more concrete, I mean, can we get rates for comparable to the extent we have?
Yeah,
mean,
I
like the
can
Farmers Market, Liberty,
Yeah, I can certainly provide rates for areas that we rent out space for, and that could be something that we consider in context at the January meeting.
I think that would help us. And to the extent that there's attendant, if you rent a field, you don't need security. If you put an event with 500 people on top of a parking garage where there's security concerns underneath, do you have to rent security? How much does that cost?
Yeah, I think the city might also be interested in having the renter, like, if I close the sidewalk, I'm insured for $2 million to close the sidewalk to
Right.
do some brickwork or whatever on a
So
building
there's-
downtown.
Yeah.
And so there's considerations of insurance on a hardscaping
Yeah.
situation where you don't have in a park. I definitely recognize that.
Well, and there is kind of a whole process in place for when there is a rental, certain things can kick that into a special event. And that can be if it's competitive, is there insurance required? Are there a certain amount of people? Is there a time of day where it is going to use kind of additional resources? That, I don't think, needs to actually impact the cost of the actual space that you're renting. Those are specific to your event at the time.
Yeah, I think, generally, Julie, go ahead.
And so there is also that group on council who's been working with the issues of security around and the new requirements and what that's going to cost and how we can still have, for example, not-for-profit groups hold events downtown and not have it cost an excessive amount of money for concrete barriers. So,
Yes.
so I think that, I don't know, I think just the lateness of the evening, maybe we didn't think about that might have been the more obvious place to refer to, but I think there are multiple groups that need to weigh in on this decision.
And I think I should pitch it to I think that I'm gonna take this over to DDA also, just kind
DDA
of informally
partnerships.
and give them a heads up
Yeah.
that this may be
Right.
something that we're interested in.
Ultimately, one of our biggest problems with that parcel for a park was the no activation. So the extent that
Right.
it can be activated, that ameliorates some of those concerns at least. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and I'll just add to that, I'm not, it sounds like we've partnered with DDA on some of these parking lots and, you know, where they,
Yeah.
where we kind of do a partial rental from them and that kind of thing. I think we just need some clarity around what their attitude in general would be on this kind of a situation, because it sounds like they have taken
I mean,
charge.
that's a great parallel. When we rent out the parking lot,
Are we renting the?
Well, the farmer's market, we steal DDA parking.
Right.
We
Well,
shut down
and
their
that's
meters
right.
essentially every Saturday, right?
Right, and
In-
usually
Well,
there's some sort of a payment.
In the
yeah.
lot itself.
Yes and no. I mean, it's a no in the sense that for as long as that agreement has been in place, it's always been a farmer's market,
Right.
so they
The
never
agreement-
had revenue on
The
Saturday.
agreement reflects
Yeah.
that. Fair enough.
Okay. Well, thanks for your input. I appreciate it. And I don't know if there's some formal action we take, but otherwise
Well, it
I'll
sounds like
I'll
Colin's got
shuffle it
some
around to some other interested parties and we'll get
Yeah.
it back in front of council maybe.
And he's got some research to do for it. He'll
Okay.
come back to us next meeting.
Well, and I think, so I can certainly go back, I can have a look at existing fees that we use for other spaces. We can also potentially have a look at other communities if they have a space like this. I think I will also try to seek some clarification on what exactly Parks' role and responsibility is of this place now. Because one way or the other, we can certainly propose a fee. It may or may not be our fee to collect at this time if this is used.
All right, so moving on, and I just want to give everybody the heads up that we have, our quorum explodes in 28 minutes. So we should try to move swiftly. I don't say that to, well, it does, there's kids, yes. All right, so moving on, item H1, approval of the 2019 calendar. I know this is super controversial. It's attached, so it's this, right?
Yes.
It's this. Is there a resolution with it? We don't need a resolution,
No,
do we?
there is no resolution. This is just an order of business that you share, and if everyone is in favor, then we adopt it. It's the same as it has been in years past. It's always the third Tuesday at 4 o'clock, with the exception of the January and the February meetings. It's the fourth Tuesday because of holidays preceding them.
So the one, I'm in favor of doing this. I would note that on the second line, it says at insert time, and then someone inserted the time and forgot to take insert time out of it. So the proofreader and me,
Thank you.
but
And is
short
it-
of that, I'm in favor of this.
Is the last one on a Friday, Colin? The December 20th or whatever that is?
No, that's,
That was our question.
I checked this morning and it was, according to the 2019 calendar, the December PAC meeting would be at 4 PM on Friday, December 20th, 2019.
yeah, that doesn't work.
You might have trouble getting a quorum
Yeah.
that day.
Well, I mean, why would it be on a Friday? It would be on the
Be on the
16th?
17th.
Oh,
Right?
17th,
Tuesday, the
yeah.
17th is when it should be.
Yes, it should be
December.
Tuesday, the 17th. I apologize for
Are
that.
all the others,
I'm not,
did somebody, I didn't check them, did somebody else check that they're all Tuesdays?
I
yeah,
did.
they look to
They
be
are, yeah.
Okay.
awesome.
Do we motion on this?
Did you just make a motion to approve this?
It, with the correction
with
of
those
December
And was
17th.
there a
Yes, I
second?
did.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Moving on, H2. Identify 2019 goals and key issues. I'm going to hand this to Colin. Colin?
Sorry, I'm just having a quick look at the calendar to make sure all the other dates
Yeah, I can check that when you
link
do
up.
it. I got back to August and it was fine.
Yeah, so this item is kind of new to PAC in the sense that it's not been specifically prescribed, but it's something that we've always worked on over the years. There is a council policy committee that appreciates hearing from the boards and commissions where priorities are for the upcoming year. And one of the ways to kind of talk about that is highlighting the goals that we approved recently in the Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan, which is the master plan for parks that kind of embodies what we heard back from the community and staff at that time. So attached, you have the goals from the pros plan, and those can be used as a stepping-off point.
Questions, discussion? So did everyone get this handout?
They should have.
So does everybody see this handout? So this handout are examples from other boards and commissions in response to this. At this point, I think we have it. I think if we follow suit, we can look at one idea would be just to simply reaffirm and adopt the goals in our pros plan, which seems to be the right, not only what other commissions and boards are doing, but also the right thing because of the work that went into identifying those goals in the first instance. And to the extent we would do that, does everybody have this handout?
Yes.
These are our goals and objections. So with that, all that prefatory stuff, I open it up to questions and discussions.
I have a question. Is this, is there like supposed to be a space limit? Like we're only supposed to give them a paragraph? I mean, could we just?
No, there's no space limit.
Okay.
But it'd be probably best not to put the whole pros plan in.
Well, maybe we could just include the goal and the rationale for all 5 goals and rationales and not the detail.
I think that would be valuable. I think one of the goals really in this is just to collate kind of the different
Not the
ideas
objectives.
and policy of commissions.
So your suggestion would be to adopt these wholesale, but remove the objections from the summary statement or something like that.
Objections.
Objectives. Yes, and we could also prohibit objections, but
Yeah.
that's probably not the
Yeah, my
democratic thing to do.
suggestion would be to take that first paragraph, goals and objectives, which refers to the pros plan, the sustainability framework, and then have goal, rationale, et cetera, just cutting out all of the objectives.
So we could, instead of saying reaffirm the goals outlined in the pros plan, which summarized are, and then use all that stuff, use this, but eliminate objectives?
That's my suggestion.
Was that
Would
a
you like-
suggestion or
that
a
was-
motion?
Oh, that was definitely a motion.
Second.
All right, so I have a second. Now, is there discussion or questions? Keep it simple, Steve.
And I mean, I agree with what you said, David, is that a lot of thought and time has already been put into this pros plan. It was recently updated, so there's little reason to go back and rehash these because they're new. They're very current to what PAC is working on.
All right, so I'm going to, just for the sake of clarity, because it feels like we might be sneaking up on a vote, the resolution would read, whereas the Park Advisory Commission reviewed the park goals outlined in the pros plan, whereas the PAC reaffirms the goals outlined in the pros plan, summarized as follows, and from there, we would include all the goals and objective, and then each goal and the rationale, but not the objectives from this document that has 5 goals. So that's the motion, and your second still carries. Is there further discussion or questions for staff or anybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? That carries unanimously. Moving on, item I, report from the Parks and Rec Manager, Colin.
Yeah, I just have a handful of things to update you on. With a little bit of luck, the weather will get a little bit colder, and we will be able to actually get the outdoor ice rinks up and running at some stage over the school holidays. That's always kind of ideal to get people out then. We have the structures are in place, now we just need the weather to cooperate. At the last meeting, I highlighted repairs that would be taking place at the boardwalk for Riverside Park. We had some good news on that. The construction costs came back a little bit lower than the estimate from the designer, so that construction contract went to council. And we would expect to start construction in the new year. I had also mentioned at the last meeting that staff were exploring the opportunity of a grant to help fund that. And there was an application that we put through to the Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Commission. We were not successful on the specific grant that we applied for, but the county looked at another way to help fund this because it's part of the border-to-border trail. So they've committed either $100,000 or half the cost of construction of this project, which is estimated at $189,000. It'll be the lower of the two is what they would commit, which is great. In talking to them, we also discussed the need to repave the asphalt path going through Riverside Park, and that's another thing they've actually committed to pay for half of that. And that was in our goals for one of the links that we had to update for the border-to-border trail. So all in all, very good news there. We are substantially complete with the improvements to the Bryant Community Center. It's been a long project. We've had some very patient people on it, but we hope to have a special event in the new year to open up that space. And the last thing has to do with we're starting the budget cycle, the next one, which is a 2-year budget cycle, how the city always does it. And we received the targets for the general fund. In the first year, there's a cut of 1.41%. And in short, I think that's going to be something that we're going to be able to work with rather well in parks. We have an opportunity to meet that target through increasing revenues, which we may be able to do through certain fees that we haven't changed in quite some time. And there's also the ability to cut expenses in a few places. I feel pretty confident we're going to be able to do this without impact to services. And we'll start to come to PAC with ideas on that in April. That's everything that I have right now.
Thank you. Moving on, Ruth, is there a report from the RAC?
I was not at the last meeting, and I don't know if Josh was.
Fair enough. There are no reports from relevant commissions, committees, boards. Public commentary, is there a member of the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, our transmittals are listed. Item O, adjournment. Thanks for coming, everybody. We stand adjourned.